Welcome to the replay, or thanks for joining us live today. I am Elisa Meredith from Tailwind, and I am joined by Kate Ball of Simple Pin Media. Say hi, Kate.
Hello, hello. I'm excited to be here. This is going to be fun.
It is, and this is the first of what we hope will be an ongoing chat between me and Kate on the topics of whatever is making you question what you're doing on Pinterest, right?
And there's a lot.
Yeah, there is a lot. So what we're seeing people ask over and over again, new things that we're seeing, maybe things we have tried that have worked that you might want to try too, and some tips thrown in for beginners as well. So, Kate, I thought maybe we would start with a basic tip for someone who's not independent, who isn't quite as independent.
A newbie.
A newbie tip, yeah.
Okay.
So my tip is going to be this, and that is to pin other people's content.
Yes.
Okay, so I see this one all the time. Should I pin other people's content? What ratio of my pins to their pins is appropriate? And that one I always say, it depends on how much content you can create. So if you could blog 5 times a day, you might never need to share anybody else's content ever. And that's fine, as long as you're covering the breadth of what your followers need, just share your content. But I don't really know anybody who can do that.
No, I do. We have a few clients who create so much content, and they've been blogging for years, that it would just be totally fine and look completely curated and not repetitive because they just have so much.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, but
it's fair.
Yeah. Most mortals cannot do that.
That's so true. Well, and I actually get the reverse question sometimes.
Okay.
Is people saying, is it okay to pin my content? So they're actually more afraid to share their content because it feels kind of unnatural to them. Oh. So they'll say, I only maybe pin 1 or 2 of my stuff a week. And then I'm pinning other people's stuff all week, like 30 pins a day of other people's. And I'm like, oh, let's swap that. Because I think it's that nervousness of coming across as being spammy or just being like, it's that worry of actually showing your stuff in school. Like, hey, look, this stuff says I made it. It's great.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, Pinterest isn't like that. But I think that's it. It's hard to switch both of those mindsets into being okay with sharing other people's content, that you're not giving away a reader or a page view to somebody else. And then on the other end, it's okay to share your stuff and you're not going to look spammy or like you're overtaking the platform.
Yeah, and I think people forget, too, that most people aren't going to go to your profile and see what you're sharing and say, oh, it's all their own stuff, right? So it's about search.
I know, they're not. They don't think like that. And I know you and I have had this conversation a while, many times over the last year, is how much Pinterest is showing boards less and less to people. So this kind of de-emphasis on where the pin is found. A couple of years ago, you could see the board that it was on and you could see all the pins on the right. So you didn't want people to see that, right? Like you just didn't want them to open up the pin and see the same one. And then it went underneath to just, a simple text line. And now I think it's really hard to find what board it originated on.
Yeah, sometimes, although sometimes I log in and I can see them. Like this morning I could. The other day I couldn't. So, but it's a good point though that it's just not that big a deal anymore. And it's not the same as going into a Facebook group and sharing your content over and over again, because that obviously uncool. But Pinterest is not a Facebook group, so it's a totally different mindset. And yes, please share your things because we want to see them. And Pinterest wants to find them and serve them up to other people. So that's my newbie tip of the month. What about you, Kate?
I think my newbie tip of the month is to not worry about followers. I hear a lot of people really obsessed with, I need more followers. I need more followers. And I just feel like we found over time too, as well, that followers don't translate to clicks and they don't always translate to leads. And so to kind of focus back on that, back on content that you're creating instead of this kind of feverish I'm losing words here, but like that run for followers, because I just see, again, Pinterest kind of downplaying the importance of that over the last couple of months. Especially last month, there was a big glitch where if you went to follow people, you would get this warning, like, due to suspicious activity, we are not allowing you to perform this task or something like that. And it was only like I had followed like one person or maybe two, and it just pops up. And also just that the follow, unfollow, a lot of people also ask me about that. If they're new to Pinterest marketing, like, does the follow, unfollow work like it does on Instagram?
Right.
No, it doesn't. Not the same thing.
No, you're right.
So I would say don't worry about followers.
Okay. So when people ask you that, I don't know if that's a one-on-one or mostly in your group, do you ever ask why?
I haven't, but I'm going to now.
Okay.
So
it's probably going to surface just what you said. They feel like the more followers, the more clicks they'll get.
Exactly. I think that's just the general assumption of any social media platform. I think that's why we have the ability to buy followers, which is not something we endorse at all or support. But that is a common theory around any social media platform, that this idea of social proof in the number of followers will get more people to follow you. And I just don't think that holds true for Pinterest. I think that I remember being a user, actually, when somebody would follow you, or you were like, who are you? Why are you following me?
Right.
Why do you see my stuff?
Yeah.
Whereas if you were on Instagram or Facebook, there's like this veracity for it, or ferocity. I think that's a word. Like, you're just ferocious about like getting more followers and you want them. And that's just not how the world works on Pinterest.
Yeah. So. And Melissa made a good comment too, that follower counts are just added stress when it's about the clicks and engagement on Pinterest.
Yes.
Yes. Don't stress out. Have a good time on Pinterest. Yeah.
Yep. I agree.
Yeah. So just don't ever buy followers anywhere. It's just never a good idea.
Well, and then you're not getting a true representation of any type of engagement anyway.
Right.
If you get followers authentically who follow you because they either follow your site or they follow you on other places, then they're actually interested in what you're doing.
Right.
And so you just can't gauge what is that 1,000 followers you just bought, like a click farm in Asia, or is it who is it, right? Is it some computer? Who knows? Just don't do it. It's just not a good practice.
And, I do understand, like you were saying about social proof. Maybe if you're an influencer, it's helpful to have 200,000 Pinterest followers because you want to sell that platform. Sure, I understand that. But they also need to be real, because if you're selling your influencer services to anybody who knows what they're doing, they're going to be looking for more than followers. They're going to be looking for what kind of clicks you get and what you can deliver to them aside from just having followers. And it also helps to understand the way the feed works, right? So when you look in your feed now, I'm sure it's the same for you. The pins that come up from your followers are in the minority now. It's promoted, it's picked for you, it's picked for certain boards. It's not just your followers anymore.
Yeah.
Somebody new to Pinterest may not quite realize that.
And especially if you're new, I would say there's also two distinct types of people that kind of jump into Pinterest marketing. There's the person who's used Pinterest as a user for a really long time and is having a hard time making that jump to business. And then there's somebody who rushes in as a business user and doesn't understand a typical user. So this typical user, they do still see some of what their followers are pinning. I've asked friends who just use Pinterest on an everyday basis. I'm like, do you see, what each other pins? They're like, oh yeah, we still see that. But if you don't understand that as a user or as a business marketer, like you just can't connect the dots very well. So on Pinterest, you really do have to, I actually think any social media platform, you have to understand the mind of a user and how they think and what they're seeing and what their actions are. So having that perspective will definitely help your marketing strategy go a lot further.
So true. Good point. So if you're looking to get into Pinterest for business, start with personal.
Yes, always.
That's a great tip. Thank you. Okay, so we have a couple of new little things. We have video promoted pins with autoplay on Pinterest.
Yes.
So we've been waiting for that for a very long time.
Yeah. People have been begging for that.
Yeah. And now that they're out, have you seen a lot of them?
You know, I have seen some of them, but you know, because they don't pop up on desktop and I spend a lot of my time on desktop, I don't engage with them a lot because I don't see them. And it's just because I haven't been on my app lately. But when I'm on my app and I'm searching for something, especially food, I do see them. I think that people were so anxious for them too, because I think they thought with the release of video promoted pins, you would also get the ability to use their native player and upload a video. But that hasn't happened. You really only get access to their player if you do promoted pins. So I think people have, I think with all ads platform, people are skeptical at first. So I've seen a lot of big names use them, but I haven't yet seen a lot of the average folks use them.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. I know a friend of ours has tried them, and she didn't like that she didn't get any clicks at all. Right?
Yeah.
So it really is good for people who can pay for that awareness, that brand lift, maybe need a little reputation bump. But if you need traffic, like everybody I know, that's what they want to pay for is traffic. Awareness.
And the thing too that's really interesting that I just realized is that when you're doing like a video on Facebook, the great part about that is that it increases your reach and it increases your likes and like there's a downward effect that isn't even, I don't hear a lot of people even talk about clicks. They will get some click throughs eventually, but they get this massive reach that really helps propel the rest of their content, right?
Yep.
And we don't see that with Pinterest. We see it as a very standalone thing that we don't get this extra effect that feels like it's worth it. And I think if that was there on Pinterest, that if you did do video promoted pins and you saw a boost in followers and you saw a boost in impressions or whatever it might be for your profile, that might be more of an incentive because that's why people are doing it on Facebook. They watch their, they're looking for virality on there.
That's a great point. And I think it's going to be a challenge with the platform as far as the way people use it. I go on there to find something to go and do. I don't go on there to find something to go and watch. So, I mean, I'm not a big video person anyway, so it may not be the norm, but I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see because if it did work that way, if people really were into video on Pinterest, and I think it's way too early to tell if that's gonna really work, then maybe it would have a similar effect. Maybe people would start to like and follow because maybe video would be the thing that caught people's attention. I just don't see that quite yet.
I don't either. And I think it has always felt like a speed bump. It has not felt natural. And so it's almost still like you don't know what to do with it. I have saved a couple organic videos before that I've come across that have been, the small little ones that people upload from YouTube. Yeah, those are great. But these new ones just don't feel helpful, like you said, for what you're doing in your life. So I think there seems to be a little bit of a disconnect between the rush of Pinterest wanting to hit the video culture matched with actually matched with what their culture is of their user. Like,
maybe people just haven't found the right spot as far as what content would work. Maybe, I wonder if those short little cooking videos that you see on Facebook all the time make you want to go cook something immediately where it's kind of sped up. And
I don't know. See, I think that's kind of the hard thing of it, right? Because if you're, we go to YouTube because we expect a longer video on YouTube, right? And on Facebook, we expect these short little snippets. And I think we just don't know what to expect quite yet on Pinterest as far as what video will convert well. Right. But I'm imagining it over the long haul to be more like YouTube, where it's still that search piece of going to find something to do. Like I'm thinking of, my son watched this gummy Lego tutorial on YouTube, and you can make these Jello Legos, gummies that you could eat. And his video was probably like 3 to 4 minutes long, but that seems to fit more on Pinterest than even on Facebook, because I'm not going to sit around and watch that. I'll scroll past, right? Like always making, but if I'm going to Pinterest, I'm going to think of a project I'm going to do or a recipe, like you said. So I don't know. I feel like there's still just a lot of unknowns with how it's going to convert.
What that made me think of too is with the what do they call them, search ads now, where you can target directly to the keyword that people are using in a particular search, which is not open to everybody yet. But right. That may be a way of effectively targeting those. So it may feel like an interruption if you're just vaguely interested in Legos, but you're looking for nail art, right? And the Lego thing shows up, video in my way, get away. But if you actually search for Jell-O Legos and that pops up, that might be more effective. So
yes, I feel like there's still a long way to go with their search targeting and keyword targeting, because there's a lot of promoted pin searches that just don't make sense. And some of us have joked about seeing the same type of ads kind of over and over again. And we're like, what is this? Yeah.
Doesn't seem to have any correlation to who you are, what you search for. But those exact search, and I forget exactly what they call them. I think they're search ads is what they call them, will be just showing in your search results. And they will be very tightly targeted to what you type in. So it'll be interesting to see how people are able to use those. I think that will be very effective, because otherwise you're really just targeting what people are interested in as opposed to what they're searching for in the moment, which is tricky to hope that you just happen to catch them when they're in the mood for that thing they were in the mood for 6 months ago. So
right. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like this is just a time on Pinterest where there's a lot of different things unfolding, and we seem to be at a kind of a pivot point a little bit and how it's going to unroll over the next couple of years. I don't think Pinterest is going away anytime soon, nor is it going to become irrelevant, but just in how it's used to, especially as millennials, use it. And as they change in their life to become parents, and, what are even the younger college, are they called millennials?
That college?
20?
Ooh, they might be in Z.
I don't know the break off, but it'll be interesting if they use it, because they're heavy Snapchat users and very instant stories. Like that's how they're engaging. So it'll be interesting to see if they still use it for search too.
Yeah. And somebody asked me if I thought there'd ever be like live stories on Pinterest, and I said, nah, I don't think so. I don't think
it doesn't fit. No. And I hope they don't try, because it would be like them putting on the wrong size of shoe. It just doesn't fit them.
Right. I agree completely, especially with the smart feed. I mean, are you going to see it live? Or are you going to see it 3 days later? Yeah. Probably not.
Yeah.
But
totally.
We do have a question from Jessica Underwood. She wants to know, she said she renamed some of her boards yesterday, and she's been getting follows and pins from those boards, which haven't previously been active. Is that just because I renamed them? That's a great question. So you want to go first? You want me to go first?
Yeah, I can. I definitely think it's a direct result of renaming, especially when you go from a name that was very abstract or cutesy, stuff I like, products I love. Yes. When you go from those into very targeted terms, Pinterest can then match it up well with what people are searching. Plus the content in that board matches the title. And so you're getting this really good downflow of potential search traffic. And what we've seen is that, especially when people are rebranding, there's this switch over to a whole different type of keyword search. And we have noticed over time that they've gone up because they're creating content in there. They're pinning content, and they have an understanding of who their end user is, and they're curating and creating content for that. There is a direct result in downline conversions of traffic and follows and likes and whatever, not likes because those aren't around anymore, but saves. Yes. So I definitely think that is always a good idea to go through and rename some of your boards to be very specific. Some people will say, well, I just titled it recipes. No, let's get deeper. Even going into something like if banana bread is one of your most popular recipes that you have, and maybe you've created a couple variations, create a board that says banana bread recipe. If you're a gluten-free blogger and you kill it in banana bread, gluten-free banana bread recipes, because these are what people are searching. And if that's all that board contains, it's like a gold mine for Pinterest in where to find content. So I definitely think renaming of boards is very smart and a direct result of what she's experiencing.
And isn't that neat that she said she just had done it the day before and she noticed the change immediately. So
yeah, that's really cool.
You just proved Kate right. So
yes,
excellent, excellent. Yeah, I would agree too, and especially if you renamed your profile as well. So if all of those keywords starting to work together, your profile is going to take off. So cool. Melissa is a millennial, and she has chimed in to say that she was looking for wedding shower ideas, and she's a millennial, so they use it for search. That's good to know. I want to know whose wedding it is, Melissa.
Good job, Melissa. Being a proactive millennial.
That's right. And Renee says that she's interested in monetizing tips.
I've had a lot of questions about that lately. Do you want to start?
I do. I'd also like to know what Renee is monetizing. Is it a service? Is it a product? So if you want to chime in with that. But monetizing tips, yeah. So there are a lot of different ways to do it, and I know Kate has more of the clients who really are monetizing through their content, through blogging, affiliate marketing, and things like that. So I guess I will talk more about products. So when you're trying to sell products on Pinterest, it's a little bit tricky, right? Because people are there to collect. They may not buy for a long time. But if you can show them some beautiful lifestyle images that lead back, hopefully, to a blog post. Blog posts do tend to convert to sales better than just sending people to a product listing. So I know a lot of product, like e-commerce people, they have hundreds and hundreds of products. They don't have time to blog every week, they say, but you need to. So what I have suggested to some is create a little mini blog post. So have a collection of items that work well together. Maybe it would be the perfect setting for an anniversary party dinner. So you'd have the linens and the silverware and the cutlery. Well, that is silverware. And the dishes and everything. Everything that you sell, put it together in a beautiful picture. Hopefully you can get a lifestyle picture plus product pictures and, pin that on Pinterest. Make that the centerpiece of your small blog post, which will just have a couple of sentences about what you're selling, how it can be used, and kind of to inspire people, because you need to go from Pinterest where people are being inspired to your site where they're also being inspired, not where they're being sold to. So that also works with visual search too. So you want the lifestyle images, but you also want the product images to give people a chance to find them as many ways as they possibly can.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would say camping off that, if somebody's going to do affiliate marketing with products, people always ask me, is it okay to put an affiliate link on Pinterest? And it is. However, with the exception of Amazon, they still have not put it in their terms of service that you can use the link on Pinterest. They've had several reports from reps, and they've had several people in the way they interpret their TOS to say that they're able to do that. And Renee, business services, so we can talk about that in just a second. But I would say for affiliate marketing, definitely be wise about what affiliate you're choosing. And if you're going to put it directly onto Pinterest, so let's say I have a pair of shoes that I love and I'm just gushing about it, and I click, share these shoes. I'm as a user, I'm more likely to purchase from a trusted resource like Nordstrom, Target, Macy's. If you grab an affiliate link from a very obscure type of seller that maybe charges shipping, you have to remember that there's all these barriers to people just clicking from Pinterest to purchase. Yeah. I'm much more skeptical if it's shoes.com, which I think exists. I don't know. But I'm more apt.
China.
Yes, exactly. I'm more apt to buy, especially if we're talking about shoes, if you send me to Nordstrom.
Yes.
Because I know it's a trusted retailer. I know I can walk into the store and return it. I know I can return it online, and I know it's free shipping. So you've got to think about the buyer on the other end and how they're processing through this. Even something like Anthropologie is great if we're talking about like kitchen products. If you're a food blogger, you can definitely create these boards with affiliate links. Again, just be wise about where you're sending them, but a lot of them will work. You know, if you want to test out Amazon, that's great. If you do, you should email them first. You should get a letter from the rep. You should screenshot that thing as much as you can so that if Amazon ever comes back to you and says this is against terms of service, you can show them all this information that their own reps have given you. So I think that's one. Number two, and Renee, as you're talking about like business services, I would say what you want to get is super smart about your pin creatives and what's on those to try to get people to click through to your site so that you can go deeper with them.
Yeah.
I don't think that business services will sell just on the surface on Pinterest because it takes a while for people to think about making that decision to purchase because it's a big decision in their business. So for me, for example, I sell Pinterest management services. It's what we do. And I don't have any of that on Pinterest. I have my content on Pinterest that leads to my blog or my podcast that then warms them up to the idea of using my services. So that's going to get a better conversion than just me getting a great pin creative that says looking for Pinterest marketing or looking for Pinterest management.
Sign up now. Yeah.
Sign up now. It's just not, it's not going to work. Or even if, you know, you wanted to do like a promoted pin campaign or getting clients to do promoted pin campaigns or something like that, that would be really difficult sell in just one click. So think beyond that one click.
Yeah, it's the same with SaaS as well. With Tailwind, it would be very difficult to say need a Pinterest scheduler, click here. Your signups are going to probably be minimal, but I would say look at it as an extension of your content marketing. So look at it as another way to get your content out to people. And unlike Facebook, which really wants to keep people on their platform, Pinterest is quite generous, right? So they are very happy to send people from Pinterest to your website. So look at how you can get that action to happen, and then the rest of it takes place on your site, like Kate was saying.
Yeah. And especially if like, I know some people will do affiliate marketing for other people's business courses or products, or even, you know, Tailwind has affiliates. So there's a lot of people who write about Tailwind because they are an affiliate and they write of their experience and the things that they love about the platform. Those people sharing content on Pinterest for for Tailwind is much more powerful than Tailwind just putting up a bunch of pins that say, use our scheduling tool or want to use our scheduling tool.
Yep.
So let the content side of it, your voice, be that strong suit there. So whenever you're monetizing on Pinterest, whether it's the products, whether it's services, or whether it's something you want to get them to convert on your side, really think through, how do you respond to being sold to? Because I can tell you, I'll unsubscribe from a mailing list so fast if I start getting 50 different emails in the first week selling me their products right away. I want to be courted, if you will. Like, I want that courtship to happen before I trust this person, you know, that know, like, and trust factor to be able to purchase. So I think that's the same thing with a business service. How are you going to woo them into a place that they trust you and want to use your services or want to use your affiliate link to buy what you're recommending?
And I think the best way to do that is to give value. So the easiest example is probably a recipe. If you give someone consistently great recipes that they use to make their lives better and feed their families healthy food or quick food or whatever it is that they need, when they come out with something to buy, you're much more likely to be ready to do that.
Yeah.
And I think about too,
definitely.
If you're selling products on your site, if I go to that site and I can't see right away, if it's a blog post, I want to see when it was published. So I want to know, is it like within the last year, or are we talking 10 years ago and this is all old news? I want to see who you are, right? Who's behind that site, what your shipping policies are, what your return policies, and how easy is it to get in touch with you. So if you're trying to sell any of those things on your site from any way, but especially Pinterest, I find Pinterest visitors are kind of bouncy compared to some other other referral sources. So if you can't make it real quick, people are going to leave.
And there's a really good thing that I had done a while ago that I know is suggested in a lot of groups that I'm in, and that's the Peak User Test, which is PEEK user.com. And you get this person who comes on and they record themselves talking and clicking around your site to try to figure out what you do. It's so fascinating. I had it done with my very first site that I had, and they were like, this person does Pinterest, but it doesn't look very Pinteresty. Like, and it wasn't. They nailed it. They were like, I'm kind of confused. What do they do? And it was such good insight for me to have a person who's just coming to my site cold to be able to give me feedback, and it's free. You get one Peak user free. And so if you are, especially if you're selling services or products, super important, because then they'll give you good feedback about whether or not it was easy to find your products, buy your products, and even learn more about them.
Excellent tip. I'm going to check that one out. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think I'd asked you about this before, if you had heard of not Adobe Spark. We all know Adobe Spark and love it, but Amazon Spark. Another Spark.
Yes. And I have not.
You still haven't looked at it?
Sorry.
Well, that's okay.
No, it's because can I blame my children? Because they're home from school. So they start school tomorrow. My life will be, I'll have a brain again instead of like, are we going to the pool today?
No, it'll just be, are we going to soccer tonight, or is that tomorrow night and Wednesday dance?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'll be in the car more.
Yeah. Okay. Well, no problem. I heard it. And the reason it caught my attention is because I heard it being described as a competitor to Pinterest.
Okay.
So
I'm looking it up now while you're talking too, so I can see it on my phone.
You can find it. It's difficult to find, for one thing.
Okay.
Why I think that I don't think we have anything to worry about at this point. I mean, Amazon is huge, obviously, and so usually whatever they want, they get. But I'm not sure that being so transparent about it, like, it really is set up for people to recommend products, and then you can go and buy them from Amazon, which it's not pretty like Pinterest. It can be there someday, but I feel like it's too buried in the app, for one thing. And I found it. Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't think we need to really worry about it, but it looks like it's going to be a way to get for more affiliate marketers to make money. And I think just the whole commercial feel of it, I don't think is going to work, but we'll see.
It's only available on the Amazon app for the iPhone.
Oh.
So.
Okay. So.
I don't think so. I don't think there's any, like, it doesn't even, I definitely agree with what you're saying. Like, I think it's a really good way for affiliates to try to, like, I think there's smart affiliate marketing in this with Amazon, or product sellers.
Yeah.
One of two things.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So we had some concerns that came up in August. I mean, there are always concerns, but the one I seem to see a lot were concerns about people stealing other people's images. So
yes.
And I think honestly, some people do this without realizing what they're doing, but there's no excuse for it. So they'll take an image from somebody, either they found it on Pinterest or they find it on a blog site, they maybe upload it and change the URL to their own site. That's stealing. There's no way around it. It's stealing. So what do you do when somebody does that? And you told me you had a podcast about it, so you are the expert. Take it away.
I do. And it's on simplepinmedia.com, and it's Pinterest and legal issues. Okay. So there's a way to get it taken down. You can file a DCMA request is what it's called. There are two different options to get them taken down. One will get them all taken down. So let's say this is a really powerful post. You want this taken down. If you click, and I can't remember which one it is, we have it in the post. If you click this particular button, it will take every single image that is on Pinterest, and it's gone. So if that was like your number one traffic driver, you can kind of kiss it goodbye.
So
the other
words, don't do that.
Don't do that. The other one is just to get these certain ones, particular pins taken down. And Pinterest has been good about that. However, people have taken advantage of this. And I've seen it over the last month pretty rampant, is that it appears that what people are seeing is people that are high up in search for a particular search term. And they're flagging this post and they're filing this DCMA request as if they're that person and removing all those pins. Well, they're removing them because they are higher up in search. So we've had several clients who have had these wiped out, and Pinterest has reinstated their pins because it was a false request. But the Disney blogger crew, they had a lot of that happening. It was pretty rampant, and it seemed very targeted towards those who were getting high search traffic, that people wanted to bump them off. And so just know that if you're filing one, you have to be very careful in choosing to just get rid of those particular pins as opposed to all of them. And if you've been on the receiving end of them, we can get a link for you in a minute as far as like what link you can click on to get Pinterest to help you. But that has been something that's been happening, particularly as it relates to very popular pins.
Oh, it's terrible. Like, yeah. Okay.
It is. I was surprised, when we started looking into it and kind of posting in the Facebook group that I have more, it started to like bubble up to the surface that all these things had been happening and these particular groups were being affected. And we thought, this is really crazy and kind of vindictive and malicious.
Yeah. So you said Pinterest was good about bringing them back, but do you get notified that your pin was taken down?
You do.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep. They get the emails.
So they get the email and then they reply with it and say, this shouldn't have been taken down?
I think they'll give you the particular pin as well. You can reply to it, but you should definitely go, you should email Pinterest as many times as you can, because Pinterest is not known for their customer service being very prompt or helpful. So it does require multiple emails to them until you can get somebody to respond to you. So it's the same way as if your account was marked as spam and you didn't do anything wrong. You just have to email like it's your job, and then eventually you'll get it back.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Very good. So I think we had looked at this before, the two different options of remove every instance or remove just this one pin. They're fairly obvious. So I think you won't mess it up by mistake. So just watch that. The other thing, okay, so everyone always wants to know what's going on with traffic this month. So I don't have access to as many accounts as you have. So I have nothing. Like I have one account that's way up, one that's way down. I don't have anything conclusive to share. So this one's on you, Kate. For like August and September, what do you usually see? What are you seeing?
So what we see in August is we tend to see a bump, and that bump is starting into what I call like high season on Pinterest. And I see high season going from September to February 15th. And I say February 15th because there literally is a drop that happens on that day. And then what I've seen notoriously is that Pinterest makes majority of their changes to their platform March through August. It's when they seem to do a lot of big things. They changed the smart feed. They added promoted pins, they added Bible pins. It's just a very active time for them. And I think they know too that the majority of their searches happen from September to February 15th. And so they don't want to mess with that. So they don't make a whole lot of changes. So then what we see too is that the majority of, that the Midwest goes back to school fairly early. In fact, they went back to school like 3 weeks ago. And the East and West, the seaboards, go back to school more now after Labor Day, in there. But there's very distinct different times. So there's either still families on vacation or people traveling, singles taking travels. Like there's a lot of things going on. Yeah. So August is a mixed bag of traffic. So that's kind of what we saw too. When we looked, we saw some people were up, some people were down, some people had these blips. There's also this last month, Google really pushed hard for people to change from HTTP to HTTPS to be more secure. And so what we saw in that too was as people made those changes, we saw drops very on certain days, just this boom, boom, almost like it looks like a heart rate monitor and just drops completely. And then it goes back up. So I think August this year was really a mixed bag of, it worked for some, it didn't work for others. And traffic is also very seasonal. So you have to look at I always tell somebody if they're starting out on Pinterest this year, maybe they started out in June and they're coming to me and they're saying, I've been at this since June. I'm not seeing anything. That's normal. I'll tell them, sorry to tell you this, but Pinterest is a long-term game and you're not going to see anything for a while. But then if somebody's been there a full year, what I tell them to do is look back on their year. When did you see things start to take off? When is your traffic you see most engaged? So really going into September, right now we're hitting the ground running with fall and pumpkin spice latte, pumpkin spice everything, apple, like fall tailgating. There's these things that are so strong that people search, and even Christmas and even Thanksgiving. And so I think traffic in the summer is always low. And I feel like I say that like I'm just like beating this drum over and over, but it is so true. In what we've seen the last 4 years is that that's just kind of how it happens. And then when we go into September and, to February, people are like, oh yeah, my traffic's going up again. And I'm like, I told you, but I know I think we're just conditioned to want the incline always. And I will say people who had really great traffic, 3 years ago, that traffic is different than what we have now. And so for a seasoned person, seasoned Pinterest marketer or seasoned blogger who's been on there a long time, it is a little more frustrating. And I get that. But traffic in social media has changed completely. And so we just have to think about it differently. And we have to think about how we capture that traffic. And we have to think about what we're doing with it and think beyond the page view, beyond this search for this into what's going to work long term. And if search is an important component on Pinterest, what am I doing to keyword things? What am I doing to create great images? Am I doing my part to keep up with the changes that are being made on Pinterest? And I find a lot of people have a hard time with that shift is they think, well, these square images used to work before. Why aren't they working now? Or, this image was great before, but it's not great now. It's like, you just have to test what works. And a lot of people are very impatient to do that. So as, looping back around to traffic, I think that is traffic a lot and what you'll see in the coming, season. But I definitely think, we're after Labor Day. People are getting into routines. They're ready to kind of hunker down, get back into not as much traveling, most people who, even don't have kids and they work full time. Summer is notorious. That's when we travel too, right? Like we're conditioned as North Americans, especially to travel during this time. So, you just have a lot of different things happening that affect traffic in the summer. So I'll be curious to see what September.
From way back, why, okay, so obviously September starts kind of a holiday season ramping up. Why do you feel like that high season goes all the way through the middle of February? Why wouldn't it drop off January 1st?
Because I think there's such a strong need for people to also organize, purge, get their life back in order in January. August and January are very distinct months for planning, for where people go, or dreaming too, right? Especially in January. They're done with the winter. They're ready to travel. Yeah. They want a warm climate. They're ready for spring. And they're ready to declutter. They're just done. And so you have still this renewed sense of searches or healthy eating. I mean, come on, like December 26th. It's like December 26th is if you deal in organization, healthy eating, finances, budgeting, frugality, purging, whatever it is, your traffic goes through the roof on December 26th. Your searches go up because people have just looked at their living room and they're like, I have all this, I want to burn my house down. So let's figure out a way to not do that and be productive with it.
Yeah, that might be a little dramatic, but I understand the feelings for sure.
Yes, I feel like that right now.
Yeah. Okay, so what we have for everybody today is a Pinterest checklist. So it will help you make sure that you're making the most of every single pin, because as we were saying, this is a very important time on Pinterest when you should start seeing things start to take off. So don't waste any of those pins. Make sure they're really good, and you can get this free checklist here that I just stuck in the chat. So we do have a question here from Jessica. She was scheduling a lot of her own content to be pinned to your boards weekly, but I got the impression from a Facebook group that this wasn't a good strategy. Any thoughts? So are you talking about basically you're sharing the same pin to the same board every week? Actually, that can be a good strategy. So to get it out there more, yeah, you can pin it more. I would recommend pinning other things in between, but you can definitely schedule and pin to the same board with the same pin. Be careful if it's a group board, because there may be rules against that, and that could get you kicked out. Or if you're using Tailwind Tribes, which I highly recommend, you can use them even if you're not a paid member. Tailwind Tribes will help you get your content seen by more people, more exposure, more engagement. But again, there, you'd want to be careful not to keep sharing the same thing. But just to boards, yeah, go ahead and reshare them. What do you think, Kate?
Yeah, definitely. I would say that probably somebody was a little bit worried about it feeling like spammy. So I agree with you. Like, there's got to be stuff in between to really make it that buffer. But, you know, it's okay. Again, because a lot of people aren't coming to your feed and going, oh, she pinned this.
Yeah, last week, exactly this time last week.
I'm out of here.
Yeah.
No, I don't think it's a bad thing, especially if it's a popular pin, especially if it's something that you've just seen really kind of gain some steam. Yeah, pin it more often, because somewhere it's getting picked up.
And I would say, if you're sick of looking at it, make a new pin for it. Just make a new image.
Yes.
In Canva, right?
I do that all the time.
5 minutes, right. And then it kind of gives new life to the same old content. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, and Jessica loves Tribes. Yay. I love Tribes too. They're the best.
It is. We do too. They're awesome. So much better than the Facebook share group.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We'll have to have an episode on Tribes at some point. But yes. Heidi's enjoying listening to us. Thank you, Heidi.
Thank you.
Yeah. So is there anything else that we need to share today before we kind of wind down? Anything else you're seeing? Anything else people are upset about, freaking out about, interested in?
I would say people are just, I would tell people to, as we go into September, December, if you have older content from last year that did well, remember to loop back around to it. Especially if it was seasonal content. I would say that's the thing that I sometimes see people forget, is they're so intent on making new content, making new pin images, that you sometimes have this stuff back here that's really good gold mine type stuff. Yeah. So go ahead and go back there and refresh it, pin it again, and see how it does, because it might get this, it might benefit from some momentum that it had last year.
True. I do this. I have this little if this then that formula that every time a blog post comes out, it drops it into a spreadsheet, so I can look at the date that it was published and the title and the URL. So I have a really easy place to look at what came out last year. So what should I be sharing again? What should I be refreshing or making new images for? But you're right. I mean, I think sometimes we do spend too much time creating, not enough time promoting.
And I get it. It's really hard to go back to those old posts. There's been times when I've asked a question and I go back, I'm like, I think I have a post on this, and I go back to it and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is awful. Like, and actually,
you forgot how awesome it was too sometimes.
I know, true. One of the things I do as well is, if I get a lot of reader questions, I go back to that original post that started to answer the question, and I include their question in my post.
Oh, that's great.
So that I can continue to build content. And I get a lot of questions about group boards. And so that post continually has more questions added to it, so that I can link to it. So that's always a good one.
Fabulous. That works really well for Google search, but also if you wanted to create a pin for every one of those questions that led to that board, that would be fantastic.
Mm-hmm. I love pin images with questions. I think they're super smart.
Yeah. Okay. So now we just need time to make them. But yeah. So we will be back next month talking about all of the things that are interesting and new and what's working on Pinterest and what we're seeing from your group, from our friends, from ourselves, all the little crazy tests that we like to do. But until then, you can find Kate at simplepinmedia.com. And you can also find a lot of blogging about Pinterest and Instagram at blog.tailwindapp.com. And then that other bit.ly link there is our co-branded Pinterest checklist. So check us out, and we will see you again soon. And thank you so much, Kate, for coming by today. It's always fun to get together with you and geek out on Pinterest.
I know. I look forward to next time.
Yeah, okay. Take care.